Hello, my name is Andrew Gillespie and I'm an MSc student on Sustainable Horticulture and Food Production course here at Schumacher College, Devon, England. And this is my presentation on the phosphorus bewilderment. During research for this project, I came across numerous academic and media reports about the impending doom humanity faced if we continued using phosphorus as we are today. I read about technical, scientific and recycling solutions, and all the voices shouted that humanity had the answers. After all, we are the most advanced and most intelligent being on the planet, so why wouldn't we? Phosphorus is a finite resource, and it will run out sometime in the near future, anywhere between 40 and 400 years. If we believe this often peddled story, then humanity hasn't got long, as phosphorus is essential for all life and cell growth and cannot be created or manufactured like nitrogen can. We have between 71,000 gigatons and 60,000 gigatons of rock phosphate reserves left to dig up. It's ours, so let's get on with it. Let's get it out, let's dig it up and let's use it. We are using it at the rate of between 160 million tonnes and 198 million tonnes a year. Most of that, 85%, is used in agriculture for crop and animal feed, and a great percentage of that readily leaches out, passing through the agriculturally disturbed soil, where a brief sojourn with the roots promises so much more, and into our rivers and seas, where it creates gigantic algae blooms that suck out all the oxygen, choking and killing all other life. None of this really matters to plants, as phosphorus is the 11th most abundant element on the earth. Access is key for them. Their symbiotic relationships with the albascular mycorrhizal fungi that release acids that break the bonds between aluminium and phosphorus, and calcium and phosphorus, that makes phosphorus available for plants to absorb, is what they care about. So did we always need to dig up phosphorus? Our obsession with an industrialised solution is a recent occurrence. Historically, humans relied on natural levels of soil phosphorus for crop and food production, with additions of organic matter like manure and crop residues. 5,000 years ago in China and Japan, human waste, night soil, provided for the phosphorus our plants needed. Our diet contains far more phosphorus than we need, so much of it is excreted in faeces and urine. In medieval Europe, we were happy to use night soil for growing our food. Proximity was key. The growth in city populations fractured this. The new solution was to simply chuck our effluents out of the window, and whoever thought this would be a good idea? This solution putrefied our streets and fresh water supplies, bringing disease and death to our big cities. The Victorians invented what everybody thought was an ingenious idea. They took the effluents from our streets and mixed it with precious drinking water, and carried it in tunnels under our cities to our rivers, hence the world's first sewers were invented. But this killed everything in its wake. After World War II, there was a boom in population that increased our need for more food. Greater yields through chemical applications, fertilisers, pesticides and herbicides were the answer. The yields increased by 60%, marking the beginning modern process of human intervention in agriculture. Is our practice of using chemicals and industrialised solutions over natural long-established relationships a gamble? As Fukuoka says, scientists have historically assumed that it is acceptable to control nature using human will. Nature is the outside world, in opposition to humanity, and this idea forms the basis of modern scientific civilization. But this fictitious eye of Descartes can never fully comprehend the true state of reality. The reality is that we're gambling with nutrient and plant health, and therefore our own health. If we turned our world upside down and plants were to choose our diets and selected 3 elements akin to nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, would we be satisfied? Would the selection of just food, the 3 elements being our entire diet, and water be satisfactory for us? When given a choice, would humans gravitate to our learned behaviour, just like lazy plants are doing, and rebuff the new? Looking at this process from our own perspective, when evidence supports the hypothesis that terrestrial plants evolved with the aid of existing arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi over millennia, it seems ludicrous that we have chosen processes invented by science and industry as preference. All I can see here are chemical companies driven by profit, backed by shareholders and egged on by analysts. These corporations and institutions care about profit. They don't give a second thought to health and well-being of plants, animals or humans. Why have we entrusted plant health and our own health to chemical companies and to corporations without fully understanding the impact and the nutrient web? Where nutrients exchange, suppress and develop according to inputs, surely we should have believed that entrenching nature's long-established processes within our own needs would be healthier for us. If we were round to a time before industrialisation, we would see we ate seasonally and we ate more naturally occurring plants. We had innate connections and understanding of plants, and our bodies were experienced in telling us what they needed. For thousands of years, indigenous people tended the land in diverse and creative ways that have resulted in resilient and sustainable food supplies and encouraged biodiversity. This process has built communities, promoted dietary diversity and increased health and saved limited resources. Modern agronomy has attempted to crush the wealth of local practical knowledge and in its place built an industry on chemicals, money and monocultures. Chemical, seed and breeding companies must be looking on and laughing at us all. We cannot allow economics to win over ecology. If economics triumphs, we will be forever fixing our man-made issues with more ludicrous ones. For example, monoculture farming on a grand scale, only divided by country borders, where one farmer, one field and one cow is all that is left of the UK farming industry. Phosphorus supply and cycling means that price rises like the 2008 800% spike will increase in frequency. Farmers' stresses will increase. Chemical companies, seed companies and breeding companies will get richer, and food prices for us all will rise. And that's without the added complexity of Moroccan issue. 80% of available phosphorus is mined in an occupied territory, Western Sahara. Morocco invaded it in 1979. I wonder why. Once mined, it's delivered to port along the world's largest conveyor belt, 62 miles. A ludicrously easy target for disruption. No amount of UK government, from people like George Eustace, interference is going to make this process any more secure. In our current system, phosphorus is running out, as the way we treat it is indiscriminate. Technology is providing a number of solutions to recovering it from our waste. Most start with adding chemicals to effluents to bind it to phosphorus that is then later separated and used as fertiliser. But all these solutions have waste products that end up in landfill and are only a temporary fix to the phosphorus problem. What I didn't read about, but I know there is opinion of, is that plants are perfectly capable of finding their own phosphorus. The organic and naturally occurring phosphate in the soil, of which plants use a tiny proportion, are phosphates that are bound to aluminium, as already discussed, and iron oxides, and amorphous minerals. These are abundant, but the bonds are strong and hard to break. It takes acids to cleave these bonds, from our friend, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. Good soil conditions with lots of organic matter, high mineralogy or clay content, and high pH can also help phosphorus availability. And mycorrhizal symbiosis is keystone to productivity and diversity of natural plant ecosystems, and it is rare to find a solution where arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi do not have a significant ecological presence. Our unnatural interference in the plant-fungi affiliation is destroying this. Plants grown to feed us no longer build extensive root systems linked to arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. As through nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium applications and seed and plant breeding, we have taught plants to be lazy, rather like our hypothesized plant-controlled human situation. The solution to the issue we have created is to grow plants that date to before we started adapting them. We need to breed and grow plants with less undisturbed characteristics, the same characteristics that help them fight disease and cleave phosphorus for millions of years. If another scientist comes along and says he has a brilliant idea to save phosphorus from certain depletion, we should ask them to look back at what nature created. So what does the future hold for us? Do we carry on with the current cycle and believe that humans will have all the answers? Or do we choose a more natural route? For our waste, for plant breeding, and for our soils. Whatever we decide, we need to be realistic, with our hope and save the disparages. There is a disconnection between what consumers see as the environment or the wilderness, and farms and farming. Only there isn't a difference. In reality, they are one and the same, only expressed in different ways. I bet even the majority of farmers don't connect their land with wilderness. So what chance do consumers have? Farms are for feeding people. Forests, moors, mountains, prairies are not. The direct connection is unimaginable, but this is where we come from, and this is where our food comes from. We know that plants and soil have an innate understanding, and that the key for long-term human habitation is scale and balance. Small-scale farming is more productive than large-scale, because of how connected we can be and how responsive we are to the needs of plants and soil. Balance through biodiversity of plants, pests, fungi, bacteria and animals breeds resilience and improves yields. We just need to understand that nature has over billions of years developed many relationships, symbiotic, mutual and otherwise, between living creatures of all kingdoms, and trust that relationships are better than we can design. This will then free our time to design ways to use phosphorus in our fishes and in our urine that fit into our modern buildings and lifestyles without having to use the most precious of all resources, drinking water. Thank you for listening.